Good morning, students. Hope you are all doing fine. I think today is Raju's birthday. My heartily wishes to Raju. Happy birthday, Raju. Right. So the first slide, what you are showing is, this eminent personality that is Mahatma Gandhi, and you can see him handling goats. So the topic today we are going to learn is about the disease that is transmitted mostly by this goats and cattle, that is known as brucella. Luckily, Gandhiji did not have brucella, but he followed the health benefits that he enjoyed by consuming this goat milk when he was sick. Right. So brucella, what we're going to learn is, you can see this. There's so many animals like cat, sheep, goat, and all. You can see even the swine here. So all these animals are responsible for transmission of this infection known as brucella. Right, so this is the stamp that was released in 1964 by anti-brucellosis Congress was held in 1964, which was organized by Food and Agriculture Industry, where they have released a stamp because of this chronic disease that has tormented this Malta. Malta is a continent which is in Europe, which is placed near the Mediterranean Sea. Right, so here in this stamp, you can see the goat and the laboratory procedures that were conducted in order to eliminate or in order to overcome this disease in those days. So here you can see the two scientists, Bruce and Zamet, along with a microscope. And you can clearly understand that these two scientists were the one who were back of discovering this disease. Right, David Bruce, he is a British Army physician in 1887. He has isolated this brucella from the spleen of a fatal case in Malta. So this Melita is a Roman name for Malta, and this is an island in Europe. And the disease that he named it as Brucella melitensis. Sir Timmy Zamet, he found out and he discovered that the infection in blood of goats is passed on to humans through infected milk. So these two were the scientists that you have seen in the previous slide, that is the stamp. He's Sir Bruce and he's Sir Zamet. So Bruce is the one who have isolated the infection from the spleen of a fatal case, and Sir Timmy Zamet has isolated, or he discovered that the infection in blood of goats is passed to humans through infected milk. Bernard Bang is another scientist. He's a Danish physician, and he has isolated and known that abortion in cattle was due to another brucella species known as Brucella abortus. So abortion in cattle was discovered at Copenhagen by Bernard Bang, and after his name, this disease is also known as Bang's disease. The next scientist is Jacob Trump, and he has discovered this infection in pigs, and this was isolated in US, and this is known as Brucella suis. So three main important species, Brucella melitensis, Brucella abortus, and Brucella suis are the three ones. The synonyms of this disease in humans, we usually call it as Malta fever, because this was first discovered in Malta. As I told you, this is an island near Spain or Europe. And it is also known as undulant fever because of this characteristic rise, that is high and low of the fevers. That is, you will see up and down in the fevers. So you call it as undulant fever. This is also known as Mediterranean fever. So in humans, you also call it as Malta fever, undulant fever, or you also call it as Mediterranean fever. In animals, we call it as Bang's disease. As in the earlier slide, I told you that Bernard Bang was a scientist who have discovered this particular disease, which was leading to abortions in cattle, which he named it as Brucella abortus. So this is known as Bang's disease. Slinking of calves, or this is also known as rock fever of Gibraltar. We also call it as contagious abortion because this disease is able to be transmitted from animal to animal. So as this is resulting in abortion in animals, this is also known as contagious abortion. And the other name, we also call it as Bruce septicemia. So these are all the synonyms of the disease: Malta fever or undulant fever or Mediterranean fever in humans. In animals, we call it as Banks disease, slinking of calves, or rock fever of Gibraltar, contagious abortion, or bruised septicemia. So coming to the organism in detail, they are obligate aerobes, they are fastidious. Obligate, they strictly require oxygen for the growth. Fastidious, they are strict in their nutritional requirement too. They don't grow on ordinary media. They are non-sporing, non-motile, and non-capsulated bacteria. They are gram-negative cocobacilli. The name itself suggests cocobacilli. That is, they are almost circular, but they are little elongated. So something that lies between a cocoid and a bacilloid shape, we call it as cocobacilli. That is nothing but small, stout bacilli. So this causes highly contagious febrile illness known as brucellosis. And this is a zoonotic disease, as I told you, and usually affecting the sheep, goat, and cattle. So these are all the various species of brucella, that is Brucella melitensis, that is seen in goat, abortus, cattle, Brucella suis in pig. So remember, Brucella canis is in dog, Brucella ovis in sheep, and Neotome is seen in wood rats. Out of these, three are of importance, that is Brucella melitensis, that is seen in goat, Brucella abortus in cattle, Brucella suis in pig. So canis in dog, ovis in sheep, and Neotome in wood rats. Coming to the morphology, as I told you, they are gram-negative cocobacilli that measure around 0.5 to 0.7 micrometers into 0.6 to 1.5 micrometers in their size. The arrangement is they are either single or in short chains, and this particular organism they are so small that they were mistaken as cocci by Bros, who first initially called them as Micrococcus melitensis. But later on, when the disease was little known, that was named after his name only as Brucella melitensis, right? So they are non-motile and non-capsulated, non-sporing bacteria. And this in older cultures, usually they are seen as irregular forms. And bipolar staining is also seen. In my earlier class also, I told you that bipolar staining is characteristic of Yersinia. And here also in this particular organism, that is Brucella, we see bipolar staining. Coming to the cultural characteristics, in the first slide itself, I told you that they are obligate aerobes, that is strict aerobic, and they are capnophilic. Brucella abortus is the organism that requires 5 to 10% of carbon dioxide for the growth. So this is the capnophilic strain of Brucella. The optimum temperature is around 37 degrees centigrade, but the temperature range is around 20 to 40 degrees centigrade for the growth of this bacteria. The pH is 6.6 to 7.4. And the growth on ordinary medium is very scanty. As I told you that they are very strict in their nutritional requirement. They usually don't grow on ordinary media. But the growth can be improved by adding serum or liver extract or erythritol. Erythritol is nothing but a carbohydrate. You also call it as a sugar alcohol, which has stimulating effect on this particular organisms. The media that are commonly used are serum dextrose agar, serum potato infusion agar, trypticase soy agar, and tryptose agar. And to these media, if we add these antibiotics known as bezitracin, polymyxin B, vancomycin, and cyclohexamide, this particular media becomes the selective one, and where it stimulates the growth of bacteria. Now coming to the liquid medial growth. So growth is usually uniform with powdery deposit, and usually in older cultures we see this powdery deposit, but in normal ones they are seen as a uniform turbid growths. Now coming to the solid media, so the colonies are small, they are moist and translucent and glistening, whereas in older cultures we see mucoid, smooth and rough type of colonies, and this type of colonies are usually associated with changes in antigenic structure and virulence. So on solid media we see both type of colonies, but if it is a fresh culture we see small, moist and translucent glistening colonies. But a little older culture, we see mucoid, smooth and rough type of colonies, which are associated with changes in antigenic structure and virulence. Now coming to the biochemical reactions, This organism do not ferment any sugars. That is, no carbohydrate fermentation occurs. It is catalase positive, it is oxidase positive, except two species, that is Brucella neomete and Brucella ovis. All other species are oxidase positive. Neomete is a strain that is causing infection in wood rats. Ovis is something which we have seen in sheep. So these except these two species, all other are oxidase positive. They are urease positive, and they have capacity to reduce nitrates to nitrites. This particular organism is IMVIC dominant. That is, no reaction occurs to IMVICs. That is, indole is negative, methyl red is negative, Voges prosper is negative, and also citrate is negative. This has only typical characteristic that it is catalase positive, it's urease positive, it is oxidase positive except two strains, that is Brucella neomete and Brucella ovis. It has the capacity to reduce nitrates to nitrites, and this is IMVIC negative organism. And no carbohydrates will be fermented by this Brucella species. Coming to the resistance, it can be readily destroyed by heat at 60 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes and 1% phenol in 15 minutes. Killing of this particular organism is possible through pasteurization. Pasteurization is a sterilization technique that you have learned in your earlier classes. And they survive that is, this particular organism is viable for 10 days in refrigerated milk, and for 1 month it is alive in ice cream, and for 4 months in butter. And in urine, it is viable for 6 days. In dust, it is for 6 weeks. And in water, it is viable for around 10 weeks. So imagine its resistance. So, but it is easily killed at by heat at 60 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes, 1% phenol in 15 minutes, and pasteurization. Right. The virulence factors, we have lipopolysaccharide and cell wall antigens that are present, that are active against this particular organism. Right. The antigenic structure, we have somatic antigen of Brucella, which mainly consists of two antigenic determinants, that is A and M, present in different amounts in 3 major species. As I told you, these 3 are the major species, that is Brucella abortus, Brucella melitensis, and Brucella suis. So A and M are the 2 antigenic determinants. So A is 20 times high in abortus. You can easily remember abortus A, so 20 times more A as M. Brucella melitensis M, so 20 times M as A. So abortus A, 20 times A as M, melitensis 20 times M as A. So Brucella suis, it is intermediate antigenic pattern, and the cross reactions, that is antigenic cross reactions, exist between Brucella and Vibrio. So these are all the organisms that have cross reactions, that is Vibrio, Escherichia, Salmonella, Pseudomonas, Yersinia, and Transella. But the most significant is Vibrio, because persons who have received Vibrio cholera vaccine may develop Brucella agglutinins that are lasting for around 3 years. So the main important cross reaction between Brucella and Vibrio is important. Now, antigenic cross reactions also exist between Escherichia coli, that is O in 116, O is to 157. These 2 are the strains that cross react with Brucella. So Escherichial strains, that is O is to 116, O is to 157. These 2 are the antigens that have cross reaction with Brucella for Escherichia. Whereas coming to Salmonella, the serogroup N, that is O in 30 antigen, that is Kaufman and White, and also VI polysaccharide have certain cross reactions with Brucella. Then Pseudomonas maltophilia and Yersinia enterocolytica and Francisella tyrollensis also have cross reactions with Brucella. Now, bacteriophage susceptibility, it is lysed by number of phages. The reference phage is Tiblis, that is TB phage, and the species or classification is possible. So by this phase susceptibility, we can classify the species. There are a wide variety of biotypes that are available. That is Brucella abortus consists of around 1 to 9 except 7 and 8. That is around 7 biotypes of Brucella abortus are available. Brucella suis, we have 2 based on H2S production. That is American one is H2S positive and Danish biotype is H2S negative. That is hydrogen sulfide production is seen in American biotype, whereas Danish biotype we don't see any H2S production. And Brucella melitensis we have 3 biotypes present. Now coming to, this is the differentiation by agglutination, that is A and M antigens, and also by dye inhibition. We can see Brucella abortus is inhibited by thionine, Brucella suis is by basic fission, and melitensis you don't see any inhibition. So this is ASM, the agglutination test what we do in order to verify the biotypes. Now coming to this infection, as I told you, abortus is seen in cattle, melitensis seen in goat, suis is seen in pig. So all these 3 organisms are responsible for production of human infections. We usually come across cow for our milk needs, goat, non-vegetarians have this meat, pig, we can't avoid the exposure to pig. So human infections are transmitted by all the 3 animals. Melitensis is the most pathogenic strain. Suis and abortus are little less. So human infections, it is consuming the infected or unpasteurized milk, cheese, or sometimes even there is no contact with infected animals also, but man acquires infection. There is another group that is direct contact with infected animals, that is farmers, your veterinarians, your bushners, or the laborers who work in the slaughterhouse. All these get infected by this. So transmission of brucellosis, that is human infection, is followed by either contact with the infected animal or by consumption of the infected animal products. The mode of infection, as I told you, this particular infections are transmitted among themselves. That is from pig to pig in Brucella suis, Brucella canis from dog to dog, Brucella melitensis from goat, sheep, or amongst them itself, Brucella abortus seen among cattle. So this slaughterhouse workers or veterinary caregivers are more exposed to all these type of animals, and they are at higher risk for acquiring infection. So what are the modes of infection? We will see conjunctiva, that is by aerosols or by fingers. We also inhale the aerosols, that is slaughterhouse procedures or laboratory accidents or veterinary manipulations that occur. We inhale the aerosols either while scraping the wool of the animals or by cleaning the animals. Some aerosols are being inhaled accidentally. Ingestion, that is by consuming the unpasteurized dairy products. We also use certain contaminated fingers, that is putting the fingers in the mouth. That is the reason elders say it as a bad habit. Then even intact and abrated skin is also responsible for this infection, mostly seen in veterinarians and abattoir workers. So mainly the organism is entering the body through conjunctiva, by inhalation of aerosols, by ingestion of contaminated food products of animals, that is animal byproducts that we consume it as either milk or cheese or something like that. Sometimes even people have a habit of ingesting the meat. Then also abraded skin or intact skin or sometimes wounds are also responsible for the entry of this organism to the human. Man-to-man transmission is very rarely seen, but it is able to be transmitted through placenta, breastfeeding, and coitus. So how the disease is manifested or how is it entering? So through initial site of infection, either your conjunctiva or your oral route or through inhalation or through your wound, the bacteria enters and reaches the lymphatic channels. And from lymphatic channels, it reaches the local lymph glands. And in local lymph glands, they multiply and they reach the bloodstream where they are disseminated into the body. So brucella, it is usually an intracellular pathogen which affects the reticuloendothelial system, and the lipopolysaccharide component of brucella cell is the virulence factor, as I told you earlier. And these are all the various modes of infection that we have discussed earlier. And this is how the route is occurring. That is initial site of infection, reaching the lymphatic channels, where it reaches the local lymph glands. They multiply, reach the bloodstream, and they spill over or disseminate throughout the body. So fever, sweats, and extreme fatigue occurs for around 2 to 4 weeks after initial infection. So brucella is usually infecting the phagocytic cell. So the more common targets: bone marrow, your lymph nodes, spleen, and liver. So brucellosis, the pathogenicity, that is the incubation period of this infection, is around 10 to 30 days. And this is manifested or as 3 types. First one is latent infection. Second one is acute or subacute brucellosis. Third one is chronic brucellosis. What is latent infection? You might have learned in your infection class, that is, this is nothing but the dormant infection, that it is present but without any clinical symptoms. So this is almost like a hidden infection which has only serological reaction, but no clinical evidence of this disease is seen. Whereas acute and chronic brucellosis we'll discuss in the next slide. So this particular organism is an intracellular pathogen. As I told you, it is affecting the reticuloendothelial cells, and bacteria form granulomatous growth in which they multiply for around 3 days to 3 months, and that is the reason why this particular infection does not have much response to the chemotherapy what we give. And this particular immunity that is present in brucella is a cell-mediated immunity, and activated macrophages usually kill the bacteria. That is Th1 type of T helper cells. They are acting in the cell-mediated immunity, and they help to eliminate brucella through activated macrophages. So these tumor necrosis factors like alpha and gamma, interleukin 1 and 12 are usually important for the protective response of brucella in humans. Right, acute brucellosis. So this is also known as undulant fever, and this is associated mostly due to brucella militensis. And bacteremia and irregular fever are the typical characteristics of acute brucellosis. The symptoms, they include irregular spiking cycling fever, nocturnal drenching sweats. We see asthmatic attacks, anorexia, CNS symptoms like nervous irritability and chills, along with constipation is also seen as acute brucellosis symptoms. So symptoms of acute brucellosis, you can take it as muscular or articular pain, asthmatic attacks, nocturnal drenching sweats, anorexia, constipation, CNS symptoms like irritability and chills can also be seen, are seen usually in acute brucellosis. Now coming to chronic brucellosis, this may be non-bacteremic, and this is presented as low-grade fever with periodic exacerbations. So symptoms are related to the state of hypersensitivity in the patient. So the common clinical manifestations include sweating, lassitude, and joint pain with minimal or no pyrexia. So the illness lasts for around years, and that is about your chronic brucellosis. So the disease is manifested in 3 forms. That is latent, where the serological evidence is seen but no clinical evidence, acute, and chronic. So in acute brucellosis, I told you that this is associated with bacteremia, whereas chronic, no bacteremia is seen. Here we have undulant fever, here we have low-grade fever. Here we have irregular spiking cyclic fevers, nocturnal drenching sweats, anorexia, and fever with chills, and also irritability. Whereas here sweating, lassitude, joint pains with minimal or no fever is seen, and the illness is lasting for years. Now coming to the epidemiology of the disease, the source of infection is by goat, sheep, cattle, buffaloes or swine, as I told you. Brucella melitensis is usually seen in goats and sheep, Brucella abortus in cattle, and Brucella suis in swine. So transmission of animals directly through blood-sucking arthropods or by ticks, or even from cattle to cattle, the infection is transmitted. So this particular infection is worldwide in distribution, and Indian farms we see in both cattle and sheep. Cattle, the most affecting organism is Brucella abortus. Sheep and goat, we see Brucella melitensis and also abortus present. So before going to laboratory diagnosis, I just wanted to add a point here. So the tissue reactions, when I told you in the earlier class, in the earlier slide, that Brucella consists of granuloma formation with epithelial cells and giant cells and lymphocytes. So granuloma heals with sometimes fibrosis and are sometimes calcified. So here one point you should remember, there is a bit here, we call it as Strauss reaction. So Strauss reaction is nothing but an experimental reaction which is being conducted in experimental animals like male guinea pigs, where you will see the formation of granulomas that heal by formation of either fibrosis or by calcification. Just remember that point, that is Strauss reaction, which I forgot to add up in the slide. Right. Now coming to the laboratory diagnosis. So what are the important specimens what we collect? So as clinical manifestation of human brucellosis are not specific, that is they are variable. Fever you see in many infections, right? But here the laboratory diagnosis plays a major role in order to diagnose this particular infection because of the non-specific manifestations. That is, clinical manifestations of human brucellosis are very much varied. So how do we confirm or how do we do this particular test? Is by culture, by serology and hypersensitivity testing. So blood culture is the most important one. The clinical specimens that we collect are blood, bone marrow, liver and lymph node aspirates, urine, sputum, breast milk, vaginal secretions and seminal fluid. So all these are the specimens that we collect in order to conduct this particular testing. So the first one is culture. So what culture do we do? So blood culture. So blood culture, when I was telling you about the media, I told you about a medium known as biphasic medium. Bi is 2, phasic consists of 2 phases, that is solid phase and also liquid phase. So there is a bottle in which the media consists of both solid as well as liquid media present in the same one, which we call it as biphasic media. So this process of culturing the blood in biphasic media is known as Castaneda's method of blood culture. So Castaneda method of blood culture consists of trypticase soy broth and trypticase soy agar, which is known as biphasic media. So usually the blood is collected during the fever spike. So this is the definitive method for diagnosing the brucellosis. So blood is inoculated onto the bottle. So which consists of this trypticase soy broth and trypticase soy agar. So around 5 to 10 ml of blood is added to 50 to 100 ml of serum dextrose broth or trypticase soy broth. So the bacteria in the blood are scanty. That is the reason why large volumes of blood, that is around 5 to 10 ml of blood, should be inoculated. So here one more point you can remember is, you need not open the bottle 100 times in order to subculture. As we have both liquid media and solid media present in the same bottle, if you can just tilt the slide upside down, if any growth in the broth, you can see the colonies that are present, that will be grown on the surface of the solid agar. I forgot to put that particular bottle, so I'll show you when you are back to college. So Castaneda's medium is nothing but, it consists of both solid and liquid. So when you just tilt the slide for around every day after 24 hours of incubation, If any growth is present in the broth, we can see the colony presentations that can be produced on the surface of trypticase soy agar, right? So subcultures are made on solid media for every third day for around 8 weeks, and this will be starting after 4 days of incubation. So usually the growth may be delayed, and cultures are usually not declared negative till 6 to 8 weeks of subculture. So usually in automated culture methods like your BACTEC and all, the cultures may give you a positive reaction between 5 to 6 days. Now coming to the serological, the advantages of Castaneda's medium. So as I told you that Castaneda's medium consists of both solid and liquid that are available in the same bottle. So this method minimizes usually the material and manipulation, and the chances of contamination are very much low by doing this particular Castaneda's method. So blood cultures are usually positive only in around 30 to 50% of cases. So Brucella melitensis and suis are most commonly isolated ones than your abortus. So bone marrow cultures yield a higher rate of isolation and remain positive for long periods after blood culture have become negative. So cultures may be done, as I told you, even from lymph nodes, cerebrospinal fluid, abscess, or even urine. Occasionally, the organism can be isolated from sputum, breast milk, vaginal discharge, and also from seminal fluids. So blood culture, remember, this comes as a short notes question in your exam. So Brucella lab diagnosis is very, very important. So just to remind, so laboratory diagnosis, we do it by 3 stages. One is your culture, the second one is your serological methods, and the third one is your rapid methods or your ELISA or delay type hypersensitivity reactions. Out of which the first one is blood culture, where we have learned about Castaneda's method for blood culture. Now coming to the serological test. Serological test, we do it by 3 methods. So that is agglutination, which we call it as standard tube agglutination testing. We also do complement fixation test and ELISA. So these 3 are the methods, serological methods that are employed in order to diagnose this brucellosis. So what is the standard agglutination test? So this standard agglutination test is a tube agglutination test wherein equal volumes of your serially diluted patient serum and the standardized antigen, that is, antigen is nothing but your killed strain of Brucella abortus, is mixed and incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 24 hours or 50 degrees centigrade for 18 hours. So what happens here is you will see or will observe the presence of agglutination. So a titer of 160 or more is considered significant. But here we have one problem, that is patients with acute brucellosis, they develop titers which are more than 640. That is 1 in 640 or more by around 3 to 4 weeks of illness. So titers, they tend to decline after the acute phase of illness. So here there's another word known as blocking antibodies that you should learn. So serum often contains blocking or non-agglutinating antibodies that are present. So usually this non-agglutinating antibodies are, they don't agglutinate with the antigen that is present. That is either due to incomplete antigen, that is the happen what you have learned in your immunology classes, or these antibodies don't fix to that particular antigen, which we call them as blocking antibodies or non-agglutinating antibodies. So in order to overcome these antibodies, we just either prior heat this particular serum at 55 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes, or we use around 4% saline as the diluent to the test. So in order to overcome this blocking or non-agglutinating antibodies, Coombs serum or phenol is also used. Coombs testing is done in order to diagnose the disease. So remember, serology, we have the detection of antibody by standard tube agglutination testing, and standard tube agglutination testing is done by adding the equal amounts of serially diluted patient's serum with the antigen and incubated at around 50 degrees centigrade for 18 hours or 37 degrees centigrade for 20 hours, where titer of 1 in 160 is considered significant. So the complications is by prozone effect. Prozone is either presence of your excess antigen or your excess antibody where the agglutination cannot be demonstrated. Right. The next one is complement fixation testing. So this is more useful in chronic cases as it detects only IgG antibodies present in the patient's serum. The next one is ELISA. This is sensitive and specific test, and this can detect both IgG as well as IgM antibodies separately. And this is also used to differentiate acute and chronic infection in individuals. So rapid immunoassay, that is rapid dipsticks, along with indirect immunofluorescence testing is also done in order to find this organism. So we have Rose Bengal card test and rapid dipstick tests that are available as rapid tests in order to diagnose brucellosis. Next, coming to delayed type hypersensitivity reaction, that is intradermal. This is an intradermal test which is like injecting this particular brucellin antigen intradermally. We will see induration of around 6 millimeters within 24 hours, and this particular is not useful in diagnosing acute brucellosis. So laboratory diagnosis, remember 3. One is culture, number 2 serological tests, number 3 hypersensitivity. In serological, we have 3 tests again. One is tube agglutination testing, second one is complement fixation, third one is ELISA. Right. There is also a need to detect this particular infection in animals and also in milk. So maybe this organism can be demonstrated microscopically in pathological specimens by either by staining or immunofluorescence. There's another test known as milk ring test. This usually comes as 2 marks question. So milk ring test, in this the milk is mixed with a drop of stained Brucella antigen. So usually hematoxylin stain is used in order to stain the Brucella antigen, and this is incubated at around 70 degrees centigrade for around 40 to 50 minutes. So if antibodies are present in this particular specimen, the bacilli are agglutinated to form a blue ring at the top. So blue ring will be produced at the top, and if this ring is produced, we say that if the antibodies are not present, no color. If antibodies are present, the bacilli agglutinate to form the ring. So ring, the presence of ring is positive test, and no ring formation is a negative test. We also do Rose Bengal card test and rapid plate agglutination testing, which is used for screening the infected herds, that is for mass screening in the animal husbandry or in livestock. We do this testing known as Rose Bengal card test or rapid plate agglutination testing. Now coming to the prophylaxis, these are like human infections are acquired by consumption of contaminated milk. So how do we prevent? So prevention consists of checking of the dairy products or dairy animals for brucellosis, and we also detect the animals, their elimination by slaughter or development of certified brucella-free herds should be done in the animal husbandries. The pasteurization of milk is a simple and easy method, and attenuated live vaccine can be administered to individuals with higher risk of occupational exposure. And Brucella abortus strain 19 is protective in cattle, and no suitable vaccine is available for men. So humans cannot be vaccinated, whereas herds like cattle, your sheep and goat can be vaccinated. So cattle, we have live attenuated Brucella abortus strain 19 vaccine. For sheep and goat, we have Brucella melitensis Rev 1 vaccine. Now coming to the treatment, doxycycline is given for 45 days with streptomycin intramuscular injection daily for first 2 weeks. And in children, cotrimoxazole with rifampicin or gentamicin is given. Right, before ending the class, just a gist of what we have learned today. Brucella is an obligate aerobic organism, and this is a cocobacilloid form. This is a fastidious one, non-sporing, non-motile, non-capsulated, and they are they're responsible for production of a contagious febrile illness known as brucellosis, which is also known as undulant fever. So this is a zoonotic disease which is affecting the sheep, goat, and cattle, and even pigs. And human infection is usually associated with occupational and domestic exposure to infected animals or their products. So just to remind you, what are the other zoonotic diseases you have learned earlier were anthrax, that is in Bacillus anthracis. This is an anthrax is acquired. We have learned about plague in the earlier class, that is Yersinia, which is transmitted by rodents. This is also a zoonotic infection. In parasitology, you might have learned about cysticercosis. That is nothing but your tinea infection, which is also transmitted by your pigs and dogs. Then toxoplasmosis, which is transmitted by cats, also you have learned in your parasitology. Hydatid disease, which is transmitted by dogs, where the man is the accidental host. So these are all the zoonotic diseases that you have learned in your earlier sessions. In the next coming classes, when you learn about mycology and in virology, you will come across rabies, which is transmitted by dogs. You'll come across swine flu, which is transmitted by pigs. And a few infections like in mycology, you will learn about blastomycosis and all, which will be transmitted by animals. Right, so with this, we will try to wind up this Brucella. So out in total Brucella topic, the most important ones is your laboratory diagnosis comes as a short notes, and your epidemiology, pathology, and clinical manifestations all together may be asked as an essay. Remember, milk ring text comes as a 2 marks question. Thank you. Enjoy it. Any questions you need to ask me?